Hello YouTube and people of the interwebs. Have you heard the news?
Breaking news! Today it was announced that Chris Chibnel, the showrunner for the BBC drama Doctor Who, has given up his role. For an unknown reason, he passed the mantle to internet sensation Joe Street, known online as the confused Adipose. For what reason? I don't know.
Help me, I have been kidnapped and held at gunpoint.
So, massive news everyone! My fellow YouTuber, The Confused Adipose, has recently been confirmed as the new official Doctor Who showrunner. I applied for the job. They said it wasn't the direction they wanted to go in. Thanks for that.
On top of this, the rights to the aforementioned show have been sold to an anonymous streaming service. Rumours amongst fans indicate it could be Netflix. Coming up, somebody had a car crash. Artmeister 4 wants you to put the gun down. And that's all till after the break.
Oh, put the gun down!
Wait, what? Oh no!
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is 100% official, not clickbait in the slightest. Chris Chibnel just gave me the reins to Doctor Who. Well, he didn't. Really, I mean... Yeah, so today's video I am going to be discussing and laying out my grand 5-year master plan. So, what would I do if I was the showrunner of Doctor Who? So, first thing to discuss is the way I'd actually lay out the series. Now, this might be somewhat controversial, but I'm gonna sell the franchise to a streaming service. I mean, if we don't want to sell it, it could even go on BritBox. But I think it's a great idea for all these episodes to come out at once. Alternatively, you could put them all out on iPlayer so the binge watchers can sit down, binge the whole series, because that's a very common trend for viewers now. Or put it on iPlayer, everyone can binge it, but if you want to watch it episodically throughout the course of like 10 or whatever weeks, then you can, and they air on Saturday nights. Yes, we're going back to Saturdays.
Saturday night's alright.
Unlike the current and former versions of the show, yes, this might be controversial again, but I'm only going to have 8 episodes per series. So that's 8 episodes a year, then we add on the Christmas special, so I mean technically that's 9 episodes a year. And the reason for this change is I want it to be a kind of overarching story. Yes, we have overarching plots like Bad Wolf, like The Timeless Child, but I want each episode to sort of slightly cliffhanger into the next one, similar to what Classic Who used to do.
Because I got her into this! So you see, I'm not gonna let you stop me now!
There's always a hook into the next episode, and it would make for great binge watching if you just sat down and watched the whole series in one go. This clearly works for franchises like Stranger Things, etc., so why not try it for Doctor Who? Now, as the title of the video suggests, I have got a 5-year plan laid out. I don't know if I'm going to be able to cover it all in one video, but my guess is this is going to be a 2-part video, and yeah. So, we've established that we've got 9 episodes a year, one of those being a Christmas special, which comes out on Christmas Day. The other 8 episodes come out in like the springtime of each year. Now for the big question. Who is going to take on the leading title role of everyone's favourite Time Lord, the Doctor? Now, I genuinely found this a struggle to actually cast because there were so many options. Like, I originally was going to maybe go with Jo Martin's Doctor, but then I thought she's a Chibnel character, so we'll let her stay in the Chibnel era. As I've been planning this for absolutely ages, I also was considering Sacha Dhawan being the Doctor himself. With Series 12, we now know that Sacha Dhawan plays the Master, so he can't be the Doctor. Other people of note who I'd have picked to play the Doctor: Ben Whishaw, possibly Emma Thompson. I considered it, but she's a bit iffy, I don't know. Idris Elba is probably my second choice. He's very, very fitting for the role of the Doctor, but ultimately I didn't pick him. So, the actor I'll choose to play the Doctor for the first few series is Colin Morgan. Now, the name is probably familiar, as many of you out there, if you're from England, or maybe even America, I'm not sure. Merlin! He was Merlin in Merlin, the TV show that came out about 10 years ago. Every Sunday evening I'd sit down and watch it, and so would hundreds of other kids across the country. So yeah, Colin Morgan is the next Doctor. Now, I've made a few notes here on what the characters are like, so I'll just run through this iteration of the Doctor's characteristics. Now, one key point is he's lost a lot of his memories. This will be talked more about in the episodes section, but that's going to be one of the overarching threads. This Doctor has forgotten a lot of his past. We don't know why, and that's a mystery that will unravel throughout the series. He's quite abrupt, not abrasive, but sometimes in his alien state he can be quite upfront and quite aggressive. He still has that amazing sense of whimsy and doesn't often get angry, but whenever he feels completely helpless, whenever a companion's on the verge of death, he completely loses it and goes into a flying rage, and this rage can take him to very dark places, which is another thing we can explore through his character. Similar to the Capaldi Am I a Good Man story, except this rage is only brought on in the most horrific of circumstances. Now, we also want some sort of character arc for this Doctor, so along with the memory thing, because he's sort of forgotten who the Doctor is, this iteration of the Doctor is going to grow into the leadership role. Initially, he's going to start off as a sort of equal to his companions, but he will eventually grow into the Doctor we know and love, who's commanding everyone without being too aggressive. Now, another thing to keep him seeming alien and slightly weird, because that's when the Doctor works best, he's always going to spot the little details that no one else has clocked onto. Similar to Sherlock, he's always going to point out that one thing that no one else thought about. He's going to notice the one random thing in the rooms, like Matt Smith when he put the water on the spaceship in The Beast Below. That sort of thing is going to happen quite a lot, and it shows the Doctor's intelligence, etc, etc. You get the gist. Now, we've got two companions for this Doctor. First character is Alex, and she is going to be played by Jade Alleyen. Jade Alleyen has appeared in Years and Years. See, I've also picked all these actors who have prior works with the BBC to keep this somewhat realistic. So, her character Alex is from the distant future, like 1,000 years into the future. Similar to New Earth, we're going to explore different versions of Earth. She's still going to be living on the Earth we live on now, but the humans will have spread throughout the universe. She is going to be one of the first time travellers of the human race, first official time travellers anyway. She's also going to have some sort of job in policing. Now, it wouldn't be called the police because the police have been abolished in this future, but she's going to have that sort of enforcement power role. She's about 20 years old, so new to all of this. She's still learning a bunch of skills, and as she journeys with the Doctor and our other companion, then she'll develop throughout the series. She's going to be very caring, yet when she needs to stand up for herself, when she sees someone doing something wrong, she's not afraid to speak up, and she will be quite in your face and oi, stop it. Now, in a big contrast to that, our next character is Sam. Side note, yes, they're called Sam and Alex. That's a reference to Life on Mars and Ashes to Ashes, Sam Tyler and Alex Drake. So, Sam is also supposed to be around the age of 20. Yes, the actor is somewhat older, but yeah, the character's 20. He is played by Edward Blumell. Edward's been in a bunch of different things. I think he's in Killing Eve, and yeah, he would fit the role really quite well, I think. He's actually a criminal. The first time we meet him, he is stealing stuff from a shop. He is a thief. Now, he's not a modern day thief, he's not a futuristic thief. He is from the 70s, and we're gonna have some of the series set in the 70s because it's just a nice era, and it's worked for things like Stranger Things to have 80s vibes. We're going 70s. He's a criminal, he's a thief, but he's doing it for the right reasons. He's very headstrong and sort of blunders into things without thinking, but his heart is ultimately always in the right place. He will get himself into trouble by being too abrupt and shouty with people, but ultimately he's trying to do the best thing. For example, when we first meet him, he's stealing, but he's stealing to provide for his mother and his family. Now, the interesting thing to note is that both Alex and Sam, well, Alex is law enforcement, Sam is a criminal, and throughout the course of the series, they fall in love, but Sam is refusing to tell Alex, and he's trying to make the Doctor keep it on the hush-hush. The hush-hush? Sam's pretending he's not this criminal figure. He's running away from home with the Doctor. He loves Alex and he knows that it would sort of break Alex's heart if she knew that he was this criminal, so he hides it from her. All these things will character develop these characters and make them really enjoyable, likeable. They'll grow into their roles, etc. on screen, so it should work. Because that's one of the main things with series 11 and 12. People often say that the fam have no character. They don't have character development. I really want to avoid that, so I'm going to make this series very character focused, like the Russell T Davies era. That wraps up the main characters section, so now I'm just going to roll straight into the episodes and episode ideas. Now I'm going to cover the main plot points and give you a little briefing on what would happen in each episode. I think this video is going to focus on series 1, so if you do want a part 2, smash the like button, subscribe button, comment button, let me know that you want part 2 to this video to figure out where all the plot threads go, etc. So, episode 1. You've probably seen some part of this episode because back in November we recreated the first few scenes. So we start in the middle of the action. A 70s soundtrack, like pop song or something, plays over the top as we see Sam, our companion, stealing from this shop with his brother. Through dialogue it's revealed that he is stealing to provide for his family, but he's stealing and destroying someone's shop nonetheless. While this is happening, a spaceship is crashing down to Earth with one person on board, that being Alex, our other companion. She's screaming, like trying to figure out anything she can do, getting on the comms, sending distress flares, etc. And she crashes in the middle of this empty town of fields and fieldiness. The location is revealed to be 70s England in a small little rural town surrounded by fields, not near a big city or anything. She crashes into the middle of the field. Then we follow the typical 70s police. One car zooms off and they kick down the door and they're like, "You're nicked." And they try and get Sam, but him and his brother run out. They're on their motorbikes, etc. Once again, while this is happening, we cut back to Alex. The police go to this UFO crash site and they're like, "What the heck's going on?" She says she's a time traveller. They obviously don't believe her. They think she's gone insane. This is also somewhat comedic because of all the chaos that's ensuing. Sam and his brother are on motorbikes. His brother gets captured by the police. Sam begins brandishing a gun in panic to try and get his brother back, because ultimately he knows that it'll tear his family apart. Even though he's doing a stupid thing, he's doing it for the right reasons. As the police cars zoom past to go to Alex, we slowly zoom up to a familiar blue police box. Now, these would have been common back in 1970s, little history lesson, but police used them to detain people. And that's exactly what they do. Sam falls off his motorbike, the police surround him, they grab him and shove him in the blue police box to try and detain him. Sam thinks, "Oh no, I'm stuck in here," turns around and bam! He is in the TARDIS control room. The Doctor's sat over there, drinking some tea with jammy dodgers by his side, jelly babies, whatever. He looks at him in complete confusion. In the panic of the moment, Sam shoots the TARDIS console, smoke goes everywhere, and the plot continues from there. And as the story continues, the Doctor meets Alex, and so does Sam, and Alex and Sam have the whole contrast of one's a law enforcement officer from the future, and Sam's a criminal from the past. This episode is a lot more focused on character, but the somewhat villain of the episode, it's a creature from another dimension, similar to the Kasavin in the way that it builds itself out of the materials of this world. So if it's walking along a road, the concrete of the road is gonna like go upwards and form this weird shaped creature. If it's walking through a wall, it'll take the bricks with it until you have a whole speech at the end. The Doctor saves the day, and it's revealed that he's lost some of his memories. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to go into that much depth on every episode. I just thought explaining episode 1 is quite important. So now I'm going to give you a brief run through about the rest of the series. So, episode 2, Alex wants to go home. She's taken back home to Earth in 1,000 years' time. Now, because of obviously overpopulation, etc., Earth has expanded out among the stars. They've also done something else. They've figured out how to use micro-technology, etc. So they have micro-cities. So when the Doctor and everyone arrive there, they have to be shrunken by this machine, similar to Into the Dalek, so that they can fit in these cities. And that's like the futuristic camp sci-fi way of trying to like save the planet. well, save space on the planet anyway. The adventure takes place in a hospital, and you have this, like, yeah, just generic base under siege hospital story that should once again develop the characters even further. Episode 3 is quite an interesting one. Alex has decided to travel with the Doctor and Sam. Now, their motives for travelling with the Doctor are firmly established in episode 3. Alex is going for the fun of adventure because obviously she was trying to be the first time traveller and it went wrong, but she can go with the Doctor and see anything and everything. Sam, on the other hand, is clearly just reluctantly travelling with the Doctor so that he doesn't have to go home and face the consequences of what he's done. Also, Sam is hiding the fact that he's a criminal from Alex. Seeing as they're both from Earth, they want to witness Earth history. For Sam, it's recent history, but they go back to the beginning of World War I. Well, before World War I even started, and they have a story set with Archduke Ferdinand. Now, for those of you who don't know, another sort of history lesson, if he hadn't been assassinated all those years back, World War I probably wouldn't have started. So it once again delves into the whole morality of, can you save this man's life to stop millions of people from dying, similar to Genesis of the Daleks, like if he saves this man's life, but then all like the knock-on effects of World War II, etc. And yeah, I'm not going to go too much into depth, but that's the premise for episode 3. That one is just a pure historical, there's no proper alien whatever, it focuses on the morality of the characters. Episode 4 is one of my favourites that I've come up with. So the Doctor is going to take Sam home to face up to what he's done. But it's the TARDIS, he gets it a few years off, he ends up 10 years into the future, so they're in the 80s. Sam goes home and sees his family and they're all older, they're all whatever. Now there's a summer fair in this little village town place with like classic British banners, etc, all these little market stalls, etc. At the heart of this village there is an old like medieval church. Now, people from this church are starting to go missing, and it piques the Doctor's interest. He goes into it, looks in more depth, trying to figure out what's actually going on. Without going too much into depth, once again, the Cybermen are the villains of this episode, but not big, clunky Cybermen. They are at their last end. These are Cybermen with full-on human features showing. Human hands, human arms, one of them might have a human leg, human eyes. We're really focusing on the body horror of the Cybermen here, and they are literally and figuratively on their last leg. It'll be quite a dark episode, and like the climax of it, the Cybermen are bursting out of the church, but everyone at this fair thinks they're just here for like display, like just have come to take pictures with the kids. They start taking people, upgrading children, etc. It gets really dark, and it gives the companions the chance to question, do they actually want to travel with the Doctor, because it's not always fun and it is quite dangerous. Now I'm going to speed through these ones. So episode 5 is quite a fun camp one to make up for the dark adventure of last episode. They arrive on a spaceship, a leisure spaceship, which gets swallowed by a giant alien fish. That's the premise. That's it. Episode 6 is a focus on the sort of religion side. Now, it would be handled with care because obviously there are people of all different faiths and you don't want to offend anyone. But the basic premise is all these people are worshipping this god, this sort of overruling god, and the Doctor is reluctant to believe in it. There was a god. He might not be the creator of the whole universe, but he created this planet, and he's not forcing the people to worship him. And yeah, it all becomes this interesting questions on, is religion a good thing? Does it make people better? And can it help the morality of Sam? Because Sam looks to this religion for answers. Now, episode 7 is obviously the one before the finale, because there's only 8 episodes, and as I say, they all link into each other. They go back into the TARDIS, and yeah, it goes wrong because of that gunshot Sam did. The Doctor's memory is obviously not what it once was, and he can't fly the TARDIS at the best of times, so especially now, he doesn't know what to do. The TARDIS is crashing, and it ends up in this weird sort of loop. They're stuck in the TARDIS the whole episode, similar to Journey to the Centre of the TARDIS, except this one should actually be good. They all end up on the verge of death, and it's at this point that Sam confesses to Alex he is a criminal, he's sorry. The pair actually begin to form a proper romantic connection. There's been seeds of it throughout the series, but at this point, they're in a relationship. But yeah, it's quite an emotional episode. The pair have to reveal to each other, and whatever, the Doctor gets a bit more of his memory back, and especially in the Cyberman episode, he remembers more and more, and he keeps getting these flashbacks, and the episode ends on a cliffhanger of Alex once again wanting to return home. She's fed up with Sam, and she can't believe that he's lied to her this whole time. But when she arrives home, cliffhanger, dun dun dun, there's one single Dalek attacking the town. So far we have only had one-part stories, and we're not breaking that trend. This finale, similar to that of Series 11, will be a one-part story. Now, don't have a panic, it's not going to be like the Series 11 finale. We are not going to be joined by the Tooth Fairy.
Tim Shaw. How long's it been?
Instead, we're going to be joined by, I kind of like ruined the reveal here, but a Dalek. One single Dalek. So yeah, let's cut to a somewhat dramatic reveal.
You are the enemy of the Daleks! You will be exterminated! Exterminate! 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 Exterminate!
So, similar to Resolution, this series finale is going to follow the adventures, I say adventures, more sort of quest to destroy, of one Dalek, and the Doctor and his team are going to have to try and escape and stop the Dalek. Moral dilemmas, etc. throughout this. The companions nearly die. We see a lot of people die. Any side character in it, dead. So I'll give a rough plot for this episode because it is a finale and it is important, and it pays off all the character arcs that have been going on throughout this series in particular. So the episode starts off where we left off on last episode. Alex is annoyed with Sam simply because he hasn't told her this whole time that he's actually a criminal. He's technically on the run with the Doctor still. He doesn't want to return home. He hasn't faced his past. She's demanding to go home. Alex wants to go home, and the Doctor, he obliges, takes her. When she arrives there is warnings everywhere. There's alerts, etc. This lone Dalek. We have the Doctor being confronted with the Dalek for the first time after losing pretty much most of his memory, most of his history. He's seeing this Dalek and it brings things back. You'll see little flashbacks. It should be the pivotal moment where you finally fully see the Doctor in this character. Now, you get to the climax. Alex has gone home, she's fed up. She's left just the Doctor and Sam on their own to fend for themselves, to figure it out. But Sam tries to be heroic, he's getting there at the climax of it, and then Alex would come in and help save the day. Then the two would get back together, they'd be happy. It should wrap up the character things. Doctor slightly remembers who he is, more so than before. Not fully. He is fundamentally the Doctor now. He knows who he is, and we have the payoff of those two coming to terms with who they are. At the end of the episode, the Doctor will take Sam home, so he has to face the consequences and live up to what he actually did. You know, you've got to raise the stakes. You've got to show, if you care about one Dalek, then you are going to care about a lot of Daleks eventually. So yeah, do the slow build up. That's why we're going to start with one. The important thing to note is at the end of the episode, the Dalek is destroyed in a cool set piece of sorts where they either ram cars and stuff into it, there's explosions, whatever. But in the rubble of the Dalek appears a little box. Now, this box begins calling to Sam. He can hear voices in his head. It's not properly clear initially what they are, but they develop, and you can hear names like Rassilon and all these Time Lord things being shouted, all random Doctor Who quotes and whatnot coming from this little box. He picks it up, confused, and the box actually says to him telepathically, it says, "Take me with you." It needs to go with him, and he innocently picks it up and just puts it in his pocket, thus setting up an arc which will last for some time. The mystery of the box, a literal mystery box. Quite meta, but you know. Yeah, that brings us to the end of today's video. If you did enjoy and do want to see part 2 and where I'd go from here, if you have any improvements or suggestions, what would you do with Who? Tell me in the comments, make your own videos, etc. Thank you for watching and goodbye!
Don't forget to click below.
Subscribe to the Confused Adipose.